Man, dads, we love you. You've been great. And today we're going to talk about the pursuit of a father. I don't know if you heard about the school teacher. He was correcting papers, and as she looked at one of the little boys' work, she was kind of appalled at the results. And she said this. She said, "I fail to understand how one person could make so many mistakes." And the boy replied, he said, "But it wasn't just one person. My dad helped." And of course, good old dad to the rescue with the homework, right? Dads are always there to help, aren't they? They're always there. I don't know about you, but there's a certain type of pride that I get when my children ask me to come and do certain things that only I can do. You know, maybe it's untie a knot or open a package that they can't open, or, you know, there's an extreme sense of dignity when I'm asked to unscrew a lid off of anything in the kitchen. Anyone with me on that one? That's a good one. 45 years old and still undefeated, by the way. I don't know how many dads are still undefeated out there. You know, you've got every lid that you've tried to unscrew, but man, it makes you feel like Superman. It makes you feel like you're on top of the world. But you know what? There's actually been some distance between us as fathers in our nation that we need to close the gap on. A recent study from last year from Manhood Journey says this: 83% of Christian fathers do not pray regularly with their families. 42% read the Bible only occasionally. Nearly 80% lack accountability in their relationships. Over 75% do not discuss Scripture regularly with their children. And almost 40% do not serve in their local church. Basically, there's a gap of missing priorities with God in our families and home. Now, not to mention that, did you know that Father's Day is the lowest attended Sunday, even lower than Labor Day and July 4th Sundays? And Mother's Day is actually the highest attended behind Easter and Christmas. It's wild, isn't it? Of course, thank you for being here. That doesn't apply to us, of course, but it's just some interesting statistics here. But here's how important the father is for the home now. Let's close the gap a little bit. When both parents attend Bible study, in addition to the Sunday service, 72% of their children attend Sunday school when grown. When only the father attends Sunday school, 55% of the children attend when grown. When only the mother attends Sunday school, 15% of the children attend when grown. When neither parent attends Sunday school, only 6% of the children attend when grown. Another survey found that if a child is the first person in the household to become a Christian, there is a 3.5% probability that everyone else in the household will follow. If the mother is the first to become a Christian, there is a 17% probability everyone else in the household will follow. However, when the father is the first one, there is a 93% probability that everyone in the household will follow. Man, dads, you are important. You see the value in what you do and see the value in how you lead. Did you know that America is the most fatherless nation in the world? There are a lot of children that need spiritual fathers too, actually. I'm sure there are some that need you in this town. Maybe there's some in this church right now, some sitting close to you maybe. We need fathers to stand up and stand in the gap. We're self-imploding and deconstructing ourselves if we can't be a part of that change. How do we change that? Well, I'll give you some quick practical ones before we jump into Luke chapter 15, 11 through 32. And as you're turning there, I'll just give you some quick ones here. Speak life over your children. Speak life into them. Did you know you have to constantly tell your children you love them? Because even if you think that they know it, they actually need to hear it, right? You may have said to your daughter, you know, hey, that she's beautiful 5 times, and now she knows how you feel. But you know what? She needs to hear it 5 billion more times. To be affirmed and reassured that she's beautiful. Speak life into your kids and speak life over them. Here's another easy one, second one. Pray for them. Pray over them and pray with them. Do you want your children, here's a question, do you want your children to grow up and be prayer warriors for God? Do you want them to be soldiers for Christ? Then invest in their life now through prayer. And here's a third easy one. Be present, be available. These are easy three that we can do right now. Be present and be available. Many times our kids will call us and they'll ask, are you busy? And this is what we'll say. We are extremely busy, but never too busy for you, is the answer. Sometimes you have to put what's important to you on hold because they are what's important to you, right? Speak life, pray, show up. There's nothing like being a father. Jesus tells a story here in Luke 15 about the prodigal son. We all know the story. Even the world knows the story because the prodigal son has been told so many times, but I'm going to take a little bit different spin on here and show you a couple things that's going on in this story that we might not see on the surface. But he tells the story about when he's talking to the Pharisees and he's talking to sinners in the same group, and he's picking out characters who they're like, which is interesting. And it's a familiar story, but today we're going to focus on the pursuit of a father. So let's check this out. In verse 11 it says, then he said, a certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me. Now, I don't know if you know this, but this would have been a great insult to this father. This father had not passed yet, but he's asking for his inheritance early. Okay, so he's saying, give me the portion of goods that falls to me. So he divided to them his livelihood, and not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, journeyed to a far country, and there wasted his possessions with prodigal living. In verse 14 it says, but when he had spent all, there arose a severe famine in the land, and he began to be in want. Then he went and he joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would gladly have filled his stomach with the pods that the swine ate, but no one gave him anything. In verse 17, but when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have bread enough and to spare, and I perish here with hunger? I will arise and go to my father. And that's important because he took something prematurely from his father, but for him to know that he could go back to his father, or at least try to return, what does that say about his father? Be a dad that your kids are not afraid to return to, right? So he says, I will arise and go to my father and will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. So we see something change in him. I'm no longer even worthy to be called your son. He's going, he left with pride and he's coming back with humility, right? I'm no longer able to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. I'm not better than anybody else on that property. Verse 20 says, and he arose and came to his father, but when he was still a great way off. See, there's distance between him and his son, but the father begins to close the distance. His father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and in your sight, and I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, bring out the best robe, put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet. Man, he squandered everything, but yet the father said, give him more. Give him the robe, give him the ring, give him the sandals on his feet, and bring the fatted calf here and kill it. We're going to barbecue. Let us eat and be merry. For this, my son was dead, but he's alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. In just a few more verses, and then we'll talk about this. His older son in the field. I call this the elder brother syndrome. As he came and he drew near to the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said to him, your brother has come, and because he has received him safe and sound, your father has killed the fatted calf. Now, I want you to see something here before we get to all the other things. The son didn't know that his brother had returned yet. Obviously, he must have been out working because he had to come and ask a servant what is going on. So think about his mindset whenever there's music and a party going on, and all of a sudden, his brother slips right back in after he's been here this whole time. Think what that would have done for his mind. Well, your brother's come because he has received him safe and sound. Your father has killed the fatted calf, but he was angry and would not go in. Here comes the elder brother syndrome, that I have always been here, so I get mine. I deserve it because of what I have done. Let me tell you something. Doesn't matter how long we've been saved. Doesn't matter what credentials are on your wall. It doesn't matter who we are. We cannot do anything to earn salvation. Works cannot earn. Well, there is nothing that we can do on our side to earn that Father's love. Well, God, you should love me more because I've been here longer, or because I went into ministry, or because I served that person, or because I look at me, God, look at me and see what I have done. There's a verse for that. It talks about, you cried, Lord, Lord. We prophesied. We did all the things. Don't we get into heaven? Yeah, but you never knew me, right? This elder brother syndrome's creeping in. And he's going to learn a lesson that we're going to talk about in a few moments. But he says in verse 29, so he answered and said to his father, lo, these many years I've been serving you. I never transgressed your commandment at any time, and yet you never gave me a young goat. I never had a barbecue with me and my friends, that I might make merry with my friends. In verse 30, but as soon as this son of yours came, who has devoured your livelihood with harlots, you killed the fatted calf for him. And he said to him, son, you're always with me, and all that I have is yours. It was right that we should make merry and be glad, for your brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found. Now, we're going to talk about the father this morning for the next few moments. I want you to see the father in this story. Oftentimes, the prodigal son and even the brother gets the spotlight, but I want you to just kind of think about the father throughout this whole thing. Let's start kind of from the beginning. He comes to his father and he asks for his inheritance, and the father gives it to him. A father could have easily said, are you kidding me? I haven't even passed yet. You know, I haven't even died yet. You guys are fighting over my firearms and fighting over my knives and who's going to get what and who's going to get passed down to what. No, he didn't do that. He had a soft heart towards his sons. And so the first thing that I want you to see is the heart of a father is strong because it's soft. You know, I don't know how many girl dads are out here this morning, but a daughter can sure make you soft. Anyone agree with me? Anyone can attest to that? Yeah. A daughter can sure. Now, it's not just the girls. The boys can too, but the girls change you because, you know, before you had a daughter, you didn't wear makeup. You didn't polish your fingernails with fingernail polish. And just so you know, I don't do that to myself. I let my daughter do it when she's about 4 or 5. Disclaimer out there. You know, I didn't let anybody, you know, use a Sharpie and draw a masterpiece on my back while I was asleep. And I don't know if you're like me, but I don't give in easily. But there is something about my kids that just makes me want to give in easily in a good way. I just love them, and there's so many times where I just may be a softie, despite popular belief, besides what I try to, you know, put on in front of my family. Hey, the tough guy, the alpha male. No, they're like, Dad, you're really a softie. I remember Aaliyah a few weeks ago, she said, Dad, a lot of people probably don't know this about you. You're actually a softie. I'm like, no, I'm not. She's like, yeah, you're a softie. I like that. Doesn't mean that we're not steadfast. It just means that we have soft hearts toward our children. And the father remained steadfast in who he was. It didn't change who he was. He didn't run away. He didn't live in grief. He didn't even control his son on what he could have or couldn't have. He was an example of a man who is strong but loves with a soft heart. He allowed him to take his inheritance before he died. This was a great insult to the father, of course, yet his father gave it anyway. So listen, dads, despite what happens around you, despite if your children want to insult you, or even if you have a relationship with them right now, or take what is theirs too early, you remain steadfast in who you are. You be the shepherd that God called you to be. This is your first congregation in your family, and he has called you to shepherd that flock for such a time as this. And shepherds, I don't know if you know this, but shepherds used to carve victories actually on their staff, right? So if I defeated a lion or I defeated a bear, I would have probably carved that on a staff. Shepherds would do that. It was custom to do that, so that they would be able to look at their staff every once in a while and remember the testimony of how they won that you could look at and you can remember. And Dad, when work is getting to you, when stress is at your doorstep and you cannot sleep because of your anxiety, let me encourage you this morning today. Lead by leaning. Lean on your testimony. Lean on the victories that God gave you. Lean on God's faithfulness. Lean on the fact that you're not lying in a ditch somewhere, that God has sustained you. Lean on the testimony of where you could be right now, and lean on the faithfulness of God, and remain steadfast in this season as a father. And that might not just be biological. Maybe it's a spiritual father. And sometimes we try to be strong on our own because of our man card, don't we? I'm not going to tell my kids I love them. That shows weakness. No, that shows strength. Well, they need to apologize first. No, you need to. Well, that shows weakness. No, that shows strength. And it shows a soft heart. So some of you have some difficult relationships with your kids or your father right now. Don't be afraid to take that first step. It shows strength. But this son knew his father was steadfast and that he would always be. That's why when he's sitting there with the pigs, I'm going to go to my father. He knew who he was. He knew that he was steadfast, and he also knew that he had a soft heart. Otherwise, he wouldn't have freely given that inheritance in the first place. I don't know if you heard about the story told about a little boy who had been invited to a friend's birthday party, and man, he was so excited about and counting down the days to go to this birthday party. The problem is there was a huge snow blizzard, and it just covered the entire region, and this boy was just devastated. He was upset, and he went to his father and said, "I can't believe it's snowing outside. Can I still go? Can I make it?" And his father said, "No, absolutely not. It's dangerous out there. It's treacherous. I don't want something to happen to you. It cannot happen." And man, the little boy was so disappointed, and he just kept going to his father. "Can I just try? Can I please just try?" And finally, the father, with his soft heart, gave in. But the father was still steadfast because this boy went through this blizzard. He got his coat on and his boots, and he went all the way to the party. And as he was going into the door, into the party, he turned around and he saw his father off in the distance walking back to the house because his father had followed him there the whole time. And so it's okay that we have a soft heart, but we're still steadfast. We're still protecting. We're still there for our children. I love that story. I love how a father is strong enough to protect, but soft enough to give what his child needs. The father knew the inheritance wasn't the right time, but he gave it anyway. Dads have a perfect balance of that strong heart and soft heart. The father was willing to make himself uncomfortable. It put himself in a position of potential hurt and insult by allowing him to take this prematurely. You know, when my father passed away, I have this memory of him taking me hunting that I've shared. Some of you have heard this, but it was when I was, I don't know, maybe 9, 10, 11, somewhere around there, and it was youth season. It was opening rifle day, and the snow is falling. He puts me on a rock, and he's curled up on the front side of the rock so I can have the comfortable spot on the back, and we're up in the mountains, and he doesn't have to be there. It's not his time to hunt, but he's out there. He went before me. That's how we found this beautiful spot on this rock next to this big tree, and the snow is falling. It's so soft. Just a beautiful scene that I remember, and it's one of my most favorite memories. Before he passed, I actually brought this memory up, and he remembered it but he wasn't thinking about it. It was just something that was so beautiful because he went before me. He scouted this beautiful place. He was present, and we didn't get anything that day. I didn't need a deer that day, though. I just needed him because I had all that I needed. The snow's everywhere. It's like a dream, this memory. It's the perfect memory that describes my dad like it was made up in somebody's imagination. And it reminds me that our Father goes before us. He scouts out the place before he places you on the rock of his salvation. He sends his Son to become uncomfortable in every way possible for us. It's not so that he can have something, but so that we can. He placed us on the rock of our salvation, and all he continually does is show up and be present. Today, dads, just show up. You don't have to be perfect because you're not going to be. One thing that I love about dads is how uncomfortable they will make themselves for the ones they love. That's what dads do. Dads, it's okay to be strong and it's okay to be soft. That may look different for you than it does for me. For me, my strong is fixing something that they can't fix, protecting them from people that would want to hurt them, not letting my daughter get married until she's 50. Soft look, maybe not that one. Soft looks like me telling them how proud of them I am. Soft, sometimes getting even emotional in front of them because of my love for them. It's okay. Be strong and be soft. The second thing I want you to see is a father sees what you're going through. It says that he saw his son a long way off. God cannot close on you. A father who pursues his children is going to bring restoration. And so I want to encourage you to see your children this morning, dads. See them for who they are. See them for what they love. See them for what bothers them. See what pitfalls could potentially be in the way so that you can get in the way. Amen. When he sees him, it says that he had compassion. Did you know the word compassion literally means innards? So when he sees him a long way off, it moves him down to the depths of his gut. It's so moving. He has such compassion on him. He doesn't get prideful. He doesn't say, told you this is what would happen. Told you he would come back. He is moved by his son's return. Some of you think that you're unworthy because of your past. God is not moved by your past and your history. What God is moved by is your return. God is moved by when you say, I'm sorry, I'm coming back, Jesus. That's what moves the heart of the Father. Don't think that you're disqualified from returning back to God because of what you have done or what you said this week or what you thought this week. That doesn't disqualify you. Nothing can disqualify you from God's love. Amen? Nothing can separate you from God's love. And so the return is all he cares about now. That is his son. The inheritance lost is not the main subject of the story. It's the compassion. Dads, when you look at your children, are you so moved in your gut by the love that you have for them? Regardless of how you have been hurt, do you have compassion? Here's the third thing I want you to see. Fathers need to get in the way. I love this one. And the enemy is prevalent. When the father is inactive, the enemy is active. We need fathers who will get in between the enemy and the children. I don't care if the children are grown and married. Well, my kids don't want or have a relationship with me. Then guess what you can do? You stand in the gap in prayer. There is a way that you can still protect them. You can still go to war for them. Dads, we got to start going to war for our families again. We got to start praying. I mean, I'm not just saying praying and saying mamby-pamby prayers. I'm talking about intercession. We should be over there in their rooms praying over them, crying over them, that God would protect them in this day and age where the enemy wants to destroy them. How much compassion down deep in our gut do we have to pray over our families and over our kids? Because I promise you, the enemy, he's coming. Go to war. Fathers know how to rescue. I was going to play a YouTube video. We're not going to play that right now, but where you guys have probably seen that, a different compilation of where kids might fall out of the crib or fall off the bed and fathers just catch them. They're just quick reflexes. Fathers know how to rescue, but sometimes, dads, it's okay to get in the way. Get in between them and everyone or everything that wants to destroy them. Well, I don't want to get in between them and their friends. If their friends are not for them, absolutely it's okay. In fact, I just gave you a green light. It's okay. Okay? It's okay to get in between them and somebody that is not for them. If it's not going to be for their benefit, if it's not going to be for their good, absolutely get in between them while you can, while you are able to. Don't apologize for being a little more protective than maybe the next dad. Don't apologize for being a little more strict on closing doors that others allow to be open when they are not for their good. I'm thankful for parents that got in the way of friends that weren't in my best interest. I might not be here today. I may have not even known it at the time, but I'm thankful for that. I love the story about the little boy and his father. They were driving down a country road on this beautiful spring afternoon, and suddenly out of nowhere, this bumblebee flew into the car window, and the boy was absolutely allergic to bees, and because of this, he became petrified and he panicked. His father quickly reached out, grabbed a hold of the bee, and squeezed it in his hand, and then he released it. But as soon as he let it go, the young son became frantic once again as it buzzed around the little boy. The father sensed his son's terror, of course, and once again he reached out his hand, but this time he pointed to his hand. There, stuck in the skin, was the stinger of the bee, and he said, "You see this? You don't need to be afraid anymore. I've taken the sting for you." Father, Dad, get in between the bee and our children and take the sting so that they don't have to. Just like Jesus took the sting for you and me, why can we say, "Oh, death, where is your sting?" Because Jesus took that for us. He got in between death and he got in between the grave. I love what the Father does here because there's a custom that takes place in the Jewish community. Some of you may have heard this. The Kazazah ceremony was when Jews would squander their money to the Gentiles, the community would want to cut them off. They would want to say there's no more community. And what they would do is when they would see them return after squandering their money to the Gentiles, they would take these clay pots and they would meet them there at the gate or meet them where they saw them. And once they met, they would throw down these clay pots and they would break the clay pots in front of them. And what they were saying was, "You are cut off. The community, you have no more community with us. You are done because of what you have done." This is likely what would have happened in this story because we see the father do something that fathers don't do in this time. The father runs. The father sees him far off and he runs. The father met him first before the community could get to him, before he could be cut off, before any pottery could be broken. His father kissed him. Dads, get in the way. Get in the way. Fathers, run to the rescue before anything can be broken. Dads, take the sting. Told this story before about me pulling the fire alarm on a Sunday service before church started. I was just a ornery little pastor's kid, and still kind of am. But I don't know, might have been 5, 6 years old, something like that. Well, the Sunday service was about to happen, you know. We have the countdown here, and everyone's anticipating, getting ready, starting. Well, I put a stop to that because I wanted to see what this fire alarm on the wall would do. It said pull alarm. I was just listening to the instructions. So I reached up, pulled that thing, alarm went off, and I ran and I hid because I knew that probably wasn't the right thing to do. Well, a couple of the deacons saw my dad, and they went over to him, and they said, "Pastor, we know who pulled this fire alarm." And he said, "Who? I need to know right now. We need to address this right now." And they said, "It was your son." He thought, "Oh my goodness." They got everything taken care of, the alarm turned off, and my dad brought me up in his office. Before he's about to preach, he has to deal with this. And so I'm up in his office, and this is what he does. He said, well, you know what's about to happen? He starts taking his belt off. I said, yep, I'm familiar with this process. And he starts, y'all dads ever do that? You got to get a good leather one with a belt buckle on. It makes the best sound, by the way. But he was hitting that belt. He said, it's time for the punishment. He said, yes, sir. I said, yes, sir, I understand. And he hands me the belt, and he gets down in his suit.
God bless you, Josh.
And he said, 40 years later, I remember this story so vividly because it impacted my life. He said, because Jesus took the punishment for us, so you didn't have to, I'm going to take the punishment for you today. And you whip me as hard as you can. I said, Dad, I don't want to whip you. You didn't do it. You didn't deserve this. He said, but I'm going to take the punishment. You whip me as hard as you can. And I'm sure my little 5-year-old muscles didn't do the trick, but in my mind it sure did. And I tried to whip him as hard as I can. He said, now it's over. Let's go have service. And reason why I share that is because that's what you dads do. You get in the way. You take the punishment. You take the hit always first. Thank you, dads. If you got a dad today that you can talk to, make sure you thank them for getting in the way a little bit. Make sure you thank them for taking the stinger a few times, for taking the punishment. Fathers know how to restore. The other thing about a wealthy man or nobleman walked, the more honorable he was, and he was considered. So when he runs, he doesn't care about his own honor more than he cares about the connection to his son. And he closes the distance on the relationship with his son, even though he disconnects from his honor. A wealthy man running would have been totally undignified. He would have to even lift his robes up and expose his legs, which would be uncalled for. That's why this restoration run is so significant, that he would make himself look so undignified, laughed at, talked about. The son was more important than all of that. Fathers, run after your children. Fathers are on the pursuit. Dads, you may have some difficult relationships with your kids today. Whether you were young, whether you were old, I don't care what has happened in the past. Run after them again. Pursue those babies for Christ. Amen. And this message may be for fathers, but also for anyone that has a father. Give them a break. They're not perfect. I know when we were young, we thought that they knew everything in the world. You thought that they're Superman, that they would never die, and that they had no weaknesses, that they're human. The father in the story is only trying to love his two sons. We've got to stop putting pressure on our dads because we didn't get what we wanted. Some of us need to go ask for forgiveness from our dads. Some of us need to go to forgive our dads because you didn't have a good relationship with them growing up. Some of us don't have one with him at all. Some of us had a dad walk out on us. Some of us had a dad die at an early age. If you don't have a relationship with an earthly father, whether it's biological or not, the Father feels it. Run to the Father this morning, just like the Father ran to you in this story. And while fathers know how to forgive, some of you dads need to forgive yourselves. Now listen, before we leave today, I need to say this. This is freedom right here. You need to forgive yourself. Some of you need to let go of what you didn't give your son and daughter And you need to forgive yourself of what God has already forgiven you for. Okay? You've got to forgive yourself. Sometimes, dads, we can keep ourselves in bondage because we beat ourselves up more than anyone else. We're our worst critics. Let go, because Jesus can give you freedom from guilt and shame. Some of you said some things that you regret and did some things that you're not proud of. You tried to be perfect, and you put too much pressure on yourself to be that. But the only perfect father is God. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay that you're an imperfect father. They're not looking for an imperfect father. They're looking for a present one. They're looking for a praying one, a loving one who will run for them, run after them. It's never too late to be present for the people you love. Remember this, when he says your brother was dead, but now he's alive, I want you to remember something about this. You're celebrated because of his love, not because of your history. Let's say that one more time. You are celebrated because of his love, not because of your history. Prodigals are coming back. Spiritual sons and daughters, as I begin to close, that are looking for spiritual fathers in this day and age. Some of you have lived the life of a physical father, but God is calling you to be a spiritual one now. It's time to mentor this next generation. Get involved with the kids, the teens, the young adults. Mentor somebody that needs it. Coach them and become a spiritual father. Every time someone runs to this altar after spending their inheritance, we should have men that run to the altar to meet them and say, your past is in the past, and it's time to celebrate your return to the Father. They need to know why they're making a decision for Christ. They need to know how to grow in the Word, how to pray. I'm calling you out today, fathers and dads, to not only mentor your children in your home, but step up and leave the gospel fulfilled into other people's lives. Real men run after their children. Real men wear pink. Real men let their daughters paint their nails and do their makeup and put on Disney princess Band-Aids on their fingers. Personal experience. Real men lead their sons on the right path and how they treat women in their homes. Real men lead their family toward Jesus. A father who pursues God will train children to pursue God. Train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he's old, he won't depart from it. It's not just you telling them what to do, but it's you modeling it. He gives him a ring. A ring in Jewish culture signified a complete, strong bond of love and commitment between a parent and a son. It's so significant because there was nothing he could do to shake the bond between him and his father, even when he squandered the money. It was like the father was saying, hey, you returned. Our commitment is just as strong as it was before you took that inheritance. Man, that's the God that we serve, his mercy and his grace. I love it. He put sandals on his feet. He gave him a robe. I'm going to let my son know that he returned to a safe place. Thank you, God, that his mercy and grace allows us to return. Then the other son, he gets upset, of course. And I'll just close with this. There was a young pastor in Ohio. He was not only a pastor, but he worked at a feed processing plant in order to make ends meet. And each night when he went home, his boys would look at him and they would say, boy, Dad, you sure are dusty. He would grumble to himself, but then smile and say, yeah, I sure am dusty. You're right. One Saturday morning, as he was washing his car, he looked over and he saw his oldest son, 4 years old at the time, begin to pick up small stones from the driveway and rub them onto his pants. And he's like, what in the world are you doing, son? He said, I want to be dusty like you, Dad. As the pastor was telling this story, he said, at that time I realized that if a son would look up to a father for being dusty, he would look up to a father for anything. What a responsibility, dads, we have. They're watching you. They're watching your life, how you talk to their mother, how you respond to them. They watch when and if you pray. They're following you, modeling after you. What a responsibility. I think it's so heavy that we can't carry it alone. That's why we need our Heavenly Father, so that we can be stronger than what we can do on our own. Makes me think about that story about this dad in the fire, this little boy named Bobby. There was a family in a home, and their son Bobby was upstairs, and he was playing away with his games, and the father and the mother were downstairs doing their thing, and all of a sudden the father smelled a smell in the other room, like something was burning. He ran over to the room, he opened the door, and all of a sudden flames engulfed the kitchen. He didn't know how it started, nobody knew, but it spread like wildfire. They called the fire department, they were on their way, and as they were trying to get rid of the fire, they couldn't. It just kept moving in from room to room to room, and by that time it pushed them out the front door. They could not even get in anymore. The smoke was too heavy, it was too much. They were coughing, it was getting into their lungs. The flames were too much. The fire department arrived, they're outside, and the fire is just engulfing this entire house, and all of a sudden the father said, "Oh my goodness, Bobby is still upstairs. Bobby is still upstairs." And he goes to run to the front door, and a fireman runs over and he grabs him. He said, "Sir, you can't go in there." He said, "My son is in there." He said, "Get out of my way. I'm going in there. I'm going to protect my son." He said, "You can't. You won't even make it upstairs." And so he did what only he knew that he could do. He looked up and he said, Bobby, can you hear me?" He looked up at the second story window, and all of a sudden he heard coughing, and he was choking, and he just heard this faint voice say, "Dad, are you there, Dad?" He said, "Bobby, I hear you. Bobby, come to the window." He said, "Dad, I can't see the window. I can't even open my eyes. The smoke is in my eyes. It's too much." He said, "Just listen to my voice, Bobby. Just follow my voice. Come to the window, crawl, do whatever you have to do." And finally, Bobby made it close to the window, and he said, "Bobby, listen, this is what you're going to have to do. Fire is everywhere. You can't go downstairs." He said, "Dad, it's hot. It's burning. The smoke is getting inside of my lungs. I can't even breathe. I can't even see. I don't even know where you are." He said, "I understand, Bobby. Just listen to my voice. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to jump out the window. I'm going to catch you, Bobby. I'll catch you. I promise you, I'll catch you. All you've got to do is just jump out of that window. I'll catch you." "Dad, I can't. I can't see you. The flames are too much. The smoke is getting in my lungs." And he just kept crying out for his dad. "Dad, I can't see you." He's like, "I know, Bob. I know. Come on. You got to do it. Listen to my voice. Just jump. He's like, "I can't because I cannot see you." And his dad looked up with tears streaming down his face. He said, "I know, Bobby, but I can see you. Just jump. Today, you might not be able to see God in your life right now, and it might be burning your job, your home, your marriage, your family, extended family. It might be really difficult right now. Dads, I know how much you carry, the stress and the anxiety. You might not be able to even see God in your life right now. You might even question his existence. But I want you to know this morning, he sees you. Would you stand with me to your feet? Well, may the Lord bless you. May he keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you. Don't forget, this Wednesday we've got Bible study. And remember this, God still wins.